All right, guys, we are live and recording. We can wait for a few minutes to see if there are a few more people joining in today. Yeah, we have a few people joining in. Let's see. Hmm. Okay, I think we are good to get started. Uh, so this session will be recorded, and everyone who has registered will be receiving the recorded version of this webinar. And at the end of the session, we'll also be having a Q&A session. So during the presentation, during the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A session, and we'll be getting to them at the end of the session. So to kick things off, my name is Abhi and I lead product marketing at Beagle Security. And with me today, I have Manindar Mohan, who's a senior cybersecurity engineer at Beagle Security. So Maninder will be speaking on the topic state of application security in the IT sector today. So handing over to you, Maninder.
Yeah. Thank you, Abhi. Hi all. I'm Manindar Mohan. I'm the senior cybersecurity engineer from Beagle Security. I've been working with Beagle for last 6 years, maybe a little more than that. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm talking a small, let's say, a small talk about what's the state of application security as of now in 2021, 2022 time in this IT sector. So without any further ado, let's go ahead with it. So let me change the slide. I hope the slides are visible. So what is basically we are going to talk about what is a basic target for a hacker. So I'll share a few quick insights from the website security space, as mostly we are going to talk about website security basically, as it is about application security, but I'm not including any kind of mobile application or a client application security as part of this webinar. So, as you might know, web applications were a huge breakthrough when it came to recognizing the actual capability of the internet. So, but it has become increasingly challenging for businesses to keep personal and customer information and data on the website, on the web application, more probably the internet secure. So, mentioning that there are a lot of websites which have a very little or no security in place. When you look into last year's very recent data breach investigation report, we can see that 43% of the web applications were involved in breaches, and web applications were the top hacking vectors in data breaches. So mostly when it comes to a cyber attack, it is probably a web application. So moving forward, this is another study by IBM Cost of Data Breach report. It shows that the global average of total cost of data breach is suggested it is a staggering 4.2.4 million, with the United States having the highest country average. And it takes companies of an average 280 days to identify and contain the breach. That is a long period because an attacker can do too many stuff in this time frame only. So moving forward, as you can see, these are a couple of companies like big names in the cybersecurity space. You can see Twitter, Facebook, Zoom, and all. And these companies have fallen prey to the cyber attack. So if these big ass companies have gone to the cyber attack, what will be the situation of smaller companies? If so, you can think about that also. So moving forward, as of now, what's happening now? What's happening in the application security cyberspace? If we check, uh, um, as the company and new technologies coming forward to this segment, like to accelerate the digital transformation journey, organization have increased their focus on the creation and enhancement of apps. As a result, the development and production environments are more amorphic and log elastic, like they're never been before, being bringing together many independent components that interoperate and facilitate secure application delivery. As a result, the attack surface of the application is far more expensive, and vulnerabilities that pop up in the that are complex and developer learn application programming interfaces to create connections between apps to share data and drive functionality. It is no secret that cybersecurity was a major topic in 2021, and not just in the information security space. At the beginning of the year, it was just a couple of small water treatment plants getting attacked, and when it comes to uh, as the days get by, there are tons of ransomware supply chain attacks that was happening, and by the May and last year end, of course, you might have hear about the Log4j vulnerability, which was a very big vulnerability and affecting a lot more application, because most of the applications were using this Apache Log4j for their login and stuff like that. So in here, these are listed couple of the vulnerabilities, some of the vulnerabilities in 2000 and 2020 and 21, which are majorly affected. So first comes, as you know, it is ransomware. It is 23% of the attack happened in 2020, and 21% happened in 2021. So basically, ransomware is caused by misconfiguration, using of outdated versions of services, which is getting exploited by a hacker, and maybe by malicious link which has given to the user, and the user, without knowing, clicking the link and infected with ransomware. This may affect the application, the service, the company in so many ways, because if it is, these ransomware has lateral movement capacity, which will affect a lot more systems, and that will end up in a lot of data loss, and maybe you'll have to pay a ransom to get all those back. So the second vulnerability, it will comes to server access. As you can see, it is in 2020 it is 10%, and it has increased by 4% in 2021. It is 14%. So this is also mainly caused by server misconfiguration, and other usage of outdated versions of services, which is getting exploited by an attacker and getting access to the server. And if we get the access to a server with the given privileges, maybe he can probably bring down the application in any way or so. So next is come BCE, which is business email compromise. In 2020, it was 9%, and it has decreased to 8% in 2021. So it is basically a email cyber crime scam, where an attacker target a business to defraud the company using, let's say, a legit email, which is, you can say, it is a company might think of it is from another vendor or another company. So moving forward, it is the last one is data theft. In 2020, it was 13%, and in 2021, it was 8%. It was decreased. So data theft is also what you can see, with a broken access or improper authentication. Some kind of malicious actor will be able to fetch all the data from the database and maybe use it to further plan the attacks, or sell the data for another to another company or so. So moving forward, these are the top infection vectors of 2020 and 21. So it is phishing is there. Basically, phishing means someone is sending an email to your account, where there will be a malicious link or a malicious piece of software, which once you run, it will affect your system. So that can be a ransomware, or a CSRF type of attack, or something like that. The next thing comes is vulnerability exploitation, which is, like I said before, because of misconfiguration and usage of old versions of services, or some components which are using, an attacker may take hold of this server, Then there is stolen credentials, like I said, data breaches or data theft, which can be credentials and we may be used to log into your system and do some kind of malicious acts. So there is brute force. What brute force means is there will be a login page, and a user and a attacker will do, he'll be having a rainbow table of passwords. So for each username, he will be entering like 10,000s of password, and may or may not, he'll get a legit username password with this process. And there is remote desktop. As you know, with this COVID situation, almost all people have moved to work remotely, and remote desktop is one option for the companies to provide to the employees without losing any data, so they can work on their own systems. And this RDP, this comes with the username and password and authentication and all. Maybe this can be get stolen by an attacker and make use to enter into an organization data network. So this is the threat landscape of 2021. This all this data is taken from Radware publication. This they have given a detailed study on all this data. So as they say, you can see 98% of the respondents report attacks against the application in 2020, where 70% of the production application are hosted in private clouds or by public cloud providers like Amazon or AWS, or you can say Azure or something like that, rather than their own corporate data centers. But the development instance, however, is much less likely to be hosted in a public cloud. So moving forward, 57% of the organizations are already using containerized applications like Docker or something like that. And 52% of the respondents believe that the use of containers have provided no financial efficiency for them. So in 92% of the organization, security staff have no say regarding the continuous integration, continuous deployment architecture, and for all intents and the purpose are required to share. Sorry, required to secure as it is. So moving forward, so why application security is important? As you can see, a recent study has revealed that 85,000 applications that were analyzed, 83 contained at least one security flaw. This security flaw can be anything from a minor older version of JavaScript using to a major SQL injection, whatever it can be. So applications are available over various network and connected to the cloud, increasing vulnerability to security threats and breaches. There is increasing pressure and incentives to not to only ensure the security at the network level, but also within the applications themselves. So one reason for this is because hackers are going after apps that their attacks are more today than in the past. Application security testing can reveal weakness at the application level, helping to prevent these attacks. So what kind of mechanism can we implement to decrease the attacks that happen? One can be authentication. There is authorization which we can implement, encryption, logging all the data which is coming to the application, and providing application security testing, like a manual penetration testing and automated scan, the code review and stuff like that. um, while all these vulnerabilities are necessarily not part of a major security risk, hackers continue to redefine every attack. So if they found a excesses, maybe they will write code or produce a new type of attacks to get into the system, and turn that excesses into a remote code execution, where they can remotely sit and execute code on the server. So, what is the application security trends which is happening in 2022? So, basically, a corporate application and the IT infrastructure are constantly evolving, especially in recent years, and it should come as no surprise that major trends of application security also can change, regularly. So there is RASP, runtime application self protection is secure, which is a technology that is built or linked to the application or application runtime environment, and it is capable of controlling the application execution and detecting and preventing real-time attacks. There is BAAS, which is backend as a service. Mm, like software as a service, backend as a service is where um, some kind of provider is providing a backend. Only the developer has to look into the front end, and he have to work on the front end, where the backend is completely handled by a vendor. So he'll be providing the backend, and the security will be handled by him, which is also a security trend which is happening. There is FAAS, which is a function as a service. You can, maybe you're aware of it if you have heard about AWS Lambda functions, which is a microservices, which service has only one function to do, and with that we can you know uh, decrease the security scope very less. And there you can see it is WAF, which is web application firewall, which protects web application from traffic by filtering and monitoring HTTP traffic. So what is the risk for going remote and moving to cloud? So as of now, in the present situation, as you guys know, this, COVID has changed, like turned all the organization or corporate employees to a new model, such as work from home, where everyone is working from home using their own internet and their own routers, and their, most probably a personal computer, personal laptop, or something like that. So in a corporate network, all the network is controlled by or monitored regularly. But when it comes to our home, nothing of such is happening. So moving to home, to work from a remote setup, it opens way to new vulnerabilities, and attackers are copying up with that to produce mm, more phishing attacks and campaigns to take down maximum number of accounts or users from the particular organization. So a study has surveyed like 700 business leaders. um, the goal was to pulse world's data protection challenge, and below I have listed couple of the significant remote work model and the issues with that. So one is like data leaking through remote endpoints. So if you are moving to a coffee shop and you're accessing your corporate network from there, there is a significant chance to from some malicious actor to you know do a man in the middle attack and get data from there, and maybe your username and password could be leaked. So there is other way, like user are connecting through unmanaged devices or networks, like I said, or adhering to regulatory requirements, which where the user is not following any kind of regulatory requirement and doing such kind of activities. Access to core business apps. If I say like I'm sitting in my home and accessing our core code base or our DevOps server or things like that, and what happens if this access is leaked to a server, leaked to an attacker, he can make our may make our application go down. So lack of user activity visibility. Once we are working from our own environment, these our activities are not logged as it is in our own organizational network. So basically 76% of companies experience challenges protecting corporate data from inside risk, and 73% report the insider risk is a big problem within the company. There is one in three chances your company loses IP when an employee quits. So 71% of the respondents are concerned whether the lack of the visibility over what and how much sensitive data departing employees take to the other companies. Only 21% of the companies in cybersecurity budgets have a dedicated component to mitigate the insider risk. Basically, insider risk means someone, an employee with enough data who can produce a risk for the organization. So moving forward, what are some of the remote work attacks? Let's say if I'm sitting in a home and working, what are some of the risks which I may possess? So some of the top cybersecurity risks associated with remote work include unsafe network, unsafe use of personal devices, human error, implementing etc. Like, so implementing security measures such as VPNs, anti-phishing tools, antivirus, and employee education, which is very important, can help to mitigate the risk to a great extent. So, what are the remote work security risk for an employee? It may be, accessing sensitive data through unsafe Wi-Fi network, using personal devices to work, ignoring basic physical security practices in public spaces. Sorry, use of weak password, the practice of unencrypted file sharing, and these are some of the risk employee may possess. So what are a couple of remote work security risks for a company? So that can be email scams. There could be emails sent by a malicious actor which could entirely look like from your own domain, or security controls that are weak, or cyber attacks on remote working infrastructures. So what are some of the best practices to avoid, security risk from working from home once a year? So multi-factor authentication is one way. Usage of password managers and strong passwords, long and passwords with 32-bit characters, which comes with like case sensitive characters and special characters and stuff like that. Then the use of VPN, which is a great way to anonymize your user and avoid man the middle attacks. Sorry, the use of firewall, and the use of EDR, which is endpoint detection and response solutions. That can implementing all these controls may decrease the risk in a very handle. So cloud vulnerabilities. So what are couple of the cloud vulnerabilities? The organization which are rapidly using cloud to fast track their digital transformation journey. Despite the increasing of adoption of cloud, data security still remains a key concern for many enterprises. So some of the top causes of cloud vulnerabilities are improper management of RDP, misconfiguration, weak authentication, and things like that. So, what are the vulnerabilities which are mainly affected in way which are account hijacking, data breaches, insecure APIs which we use for almost all the purposes in our tools. That can they may be insecure. If they are insecure, they may possess a great risk. So malicious insider might be an employee who has a malicious intent for your organization. And system vulnerabilities. System vulnerabilities are vulnerabilities which is getting released on an everyday basis. That may be say 0-day vulnerabilities which we have no control over. So what are the impacts due to cyber attacks? So So three of the most frequent application attacks are SQL injection or other type of injection like cross-site scripting, iframe injections, and things like CSRF and all. These are quite technical. I'm not going into that. So basically, what SQL injection means is in an user input, a malicious actor can inject a SQL query to get data from the database, which is not like intended for him. You can say like that. So basically, most of the applications who are having a database who doesn't use structured query and stuff like that, they might be more susceptible to these type of SQL type of attacks and things. So, given shown here are the four of the most common type of attacks which happens in a web application. One is DOS, which is distributed denial of service. Denial of service means mm, no a malicious actor will flood with a request to a particular server and flood with request and denying a real user with the access to the application. So like I said before, SQL and other injection, SQL injection, that is cross-site scripting, which is basically JavaScript injection. And then there is API manipulation. In the parameters of API, if someone is getting a negative value, or changing the user ID to another user ID to get some other person's data, like broken authentication and IDOR and things like that. Then there is bot attack. Bot attack means basically someone has written a bot to basically to attack a service with a vulnerable service. So this bot is crawling all the let's say all the site through Google, and he just simply attacks uh, whatever web application which is having a particular service with a vulnerability. So, what is the most targeted vulnerability? Which is as of 2021, it is broken access control. So, what is broken access control? Uh, Broken access control is a user is there, and if he is accessing data of some other user which he is not intended to see, that can be called as a broken access control. So, violation of this principle, a least privilege or deny by default, where access should only be granted to a particular capabilities, roles, or users, but it is available to anyone. So, what is the best practices for ensuring a web application security? So, basically, the solution is to include everyone in the security practice, from the developer to the testers to the DevOps engineers. So, including everyone in this cycle of security would be the best option. Automate and integrate security tools from the development cycle itself. So basically it is called DevSecOps, uh, where Beagle comes in that place. You can include automated code scanning tools, automated web application scanning tools into the DevOps cycle. So before it going to the production itself, you'll be able to identify almost all the vulnerabilities. So follow secure software development practices, adopt a cybersecurity framework like NIST, GDP, or ISO 27001, 007, sorry. Use diverse security measures, perform security exercises, and maintain a bounty program. Bounty program is opening your application to bounty hunters, where they hunt for bugs and report back to you, so you provide them with some kind of bounty. So moving forward, so why Beagle Security? Where Beagle Security comes into this? So what we have built is an enterprise grade solution powered by an AI engine that our team has been constantly improving on. So Beagle Security works with all type of websites and frameworks, and it is able to detect attack with vectors most vulnerability scanners fail to detect. Some of them are IDOs, like broken access control. These all are a very manual kind of attacks, which we have automated with the help of AI to find out the vulnerabilities. And once the test is complete, you will receive a detailed report with an actionable like insights on how to fix the vulnerabilities. And these reports can be anyway from a PDF report to a JSON format, or to a CI/CD pipeline, or to your bug tracking tools like Jira or Trello or something like that. So anywhere you can integrate Beagle Security to do. So and so you can test your website, log in, integrate Beagle Security to your CI/CD pipelines, as we said. Also, you can work with our APIs for building custom integrations. So our evidence-based reporting will get proof on how the exploit how did we particularly exploit the vulnerability, and how you can remediate the vulnerability. So basically, this is what I have prepared for today. And moving forward, if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Maninder. That was very insightful. A lot of good points on what are the trends, what's happening in the industry right now in terms of
Awesome.
vulnerabilities as well, what people should be looking out for. Thank you for that. And we have a couple of questions that have come in. So since we are short of time, I'll be picking up a few from them, and you can answer them.
Yeah, sure.
So first question one I have here is, yeah, this looks interesting. So any other high impact vulnerabilities that we should be aware of other than broken access control?
So, like I said before, sorry, SQL injection, it is a like a high impact vulnerability where he will be able to, an attacker, a malicious actor will be able to dump all the database um, to his system, where he can go through it and take whatever data he wants. Some other will be XSS, which is basically a JavaScript injection, where he injects a malicious piece of JavaScript code into the web application, and maybe he can do anything on that. Other than that, there is service-based exploits, which is, let's say, for example, Log4j, which is a Apache Log4j, which is a service used for login, and it comes with an vulnerability, and with that, an attacker can do a remote code execution. So these are a couple of them. There are a lot more.
Thank you. And another interesting question here. So with COVID, we had a lot of employees shifting from office to remote work. So the question is, what are the best security practices for remote employees?
So the best practices for a remote employee will be providing proper security education to them. So most of the attacks which is happened by phishing or some kind of human error from a human side, which is inevitable, as say. So with proper education, around a big like a huge impact can be given to the employee. Other than that, VPN, like I said, two-factor authentication, mm, things like that will also help.
Okay. And okay, let's pick this one. Is there a standard technique to code securely?
Mm, you you can follow that OWASP secure coding practices quick reference guide, which is a guide by OWASP. As you can see, OWASP is someone who's into web application security from a very long time, and they provide a great set of tools for that also. So basically, following that particular guide will help you in developing a secure application. Yeah.
Right. So we have gone a little on board the time here, so I'll just finish up with one more question. So this
Mhm.
is regarding the product. So how does Beagle Security deal with false positives? So the question is that there are a lot of vulnerability scanners who return a lot of false positive results. So how can Beagle reduce this?
Actually, false positives. It is once when it comes to an automated scanning, false positive or uh, is an inevitable. So what Beagle does is, we have a set of engineers who manually verifies every single test and go through all the vulnerabilities, and check whether they are a false positive or a which is actually there or not. So by this process, we have decreased our false positive rate to 1%. Mm, and this is how we do it. So basically, it is a manual process where people are sitting behind and going through all the vulnerabilities.
Cool. That's it for the questions, Manindar. Thank you
Yeah,
for joining us today.
awesome.
It was a very insightful session. And for everyone who joined in today, thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar. And we'll be sending out these recordings to you, to everyone who has registered for this particular webinar. This should also be up and running on our YouTube channel. So to finish things up, please feel free to check out Beagle Security. You can sign up for a free account at beaglesecurity.com. And you can also follow us on LinkedIn. We share a lot of insightful education practices as well as best practices around application security on our LinkedIn page. Feel free to give Manikar as well on the follow on LinkedIn. He shares a lot of content there as well. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining us again. and look out for further webinars from us. Thank you. Have a
Yeah.
good day.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.